Thank you to those who are choosing to stay back when there are a lot of temptations, coffee, good food around. I'm Chirag Thakkar. I am a publisher at Bloomsbury, India. And over the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to try and tell you a lot about what really goes on in the world of publishing, in the world of books, what it takes to be published. Some of this will be useful to aspiring writers. Some of this will be useful to people who have been writing, but tricks of the trade that you did not know or were privy to. With us are three wonderful people. There's two literary agents and one exciting writer with us and a publisher. They're going to do much of the who I'm allegedly also exciting. They're going to do much of the heavy lifting. I'm just going to field questions at them, but of course, at any point, feel free to ask me things. I'm going to try my best to be a spokesperson for the publishing world from my side of things. So, just to sort of get us started, y'all have all been around for a good 2-3 decades in some cases. What has changed in the world of publishing in the last 10 years? What's gotten better, more exciting, and what has gotten worse? We'll do a round of this with all of you. Any of you can start.
I started out as a writer. I was when I was 22, and at that time, I did not find enough support system for writers. Yes, there were agents overseas, and there were some agencies in India also, and there were one or two publishers, mainstream publishers, but there was not a support system, for writers. So from that time until now, I've been in publishing for 17 years. I've seen that writers do have a lot of support system in terms of agents, freelance editors. Many years ago, writers could not just go to festivals and, introduce themselves to, authors, editors, because there were very few festivals. But now, not only can they do that, but you also have so many pitching, platforms and contests like you have at Bangalore Lit Fest. So I think what has changed is that publishing has become more democratized. A lot of new publishing houses have opened up, and this started in 2009 or 10 when some of the big five, they set up offices in India, or the ones who had already set up distribution offices in India, they started publishing, like Pan and all had been around for a while, and even Simon & Schuster, but they were primarily focused on promoting authors acquired by the UK, US offices, but now they have their own list, and then, Aleph started, Speaking Tiger started. So, there's a lot more to choose from, which makes it, I think, easier for agents to...
What's gotten worse?
What's gotten worse, the quality of writing, and also this Instagram-led, social media-driven commissioning, wherein, editors are actually writing to people and saying that just do a book for us without knowing what the book is. So basically you need to have a certain profile to appeal to mainstream publishers, unless, you are writing in the lit fic space, in which case you need to have, credentials, you need to have been nominated for prizes, fellowships. And I also feel that there's a huge mismatch between the buzz around publishing, the buzz around the anticipation around the release of a new exciting debut novel or a novel by a well-known writer, especially if these writers are not published in the UK, US, and the actual sales, So, how do we find influencers who actually drive sales? So I think democratization has happened because I managed to, survive in publishing for 17, 18 years without any backing, credentials, even proper education. So that way things have changed. And now, I don't know whether any of you know, but there are a new wave of agents who are really enterprising and who are also very involved in marketing. One of them used to work for you, Saksham Garg. He's also become... Oh yes, and they are very aggressive with their marketing, and and there are some other agents also, and some of them are they're not from your Bombay, Delhi, but they are making it happen because they know how books are sold, and I'm losing some of my authors to them. So
it's opened up, it's become more democratic, but quality of writing has gone down and influencers have come in and good writing is suffering is something you've seen. What's changed for you?
So I think my journey with publishing as well as writing began about 2 decades ago with the birth, when I gave birth to the Jaipur Literature Festival. And while working on the festival, I realized that there's nobody who's really fielding the place for authors. And so much good writing was getting unnoticed, was being left unnoticed, and was falling through the cracks because publishers didn't have enough manpower or enough time. By the way, the big five were already here. Penguin and Harper and Rupa was already there, except for Bloomsbury and Simon & Schuster, like Kanishk said. But most of them had established their feet well before we are talking about our being part of the industry. Since then, so that is why I started Siyahi. I said, no, we need to find a way where we get the right kind of voices published. We also focus on our literature that's coming from the languages. That is the wealth of our literature in this country, and we need to find ways of getting that to the forefront. So having started with those ideals, one thing was there that our publishers were very open-minded then, in absolute opposition of what people would generally believe 20 years back. When I walked up to them and I said, I've started this agency and I'm here to focus on this kind of writing, and I want to be experimental, I want to be representing authors who write straight from the gut, who are edgy, who are experimenting with form, with craft, who are showing a level of vision and imagination which has not been seen as of now, we were welcomed. So the open-mindedness was there, it was just not being talked about. And I've always affirmed this right from the word go. What has changed after that is that they became more and more experimental. They were ready to accept submissions coming from an agent, knowing very well that we would have honed the manuscript to a certain level where it's elevated to being pitch worthy at least, and it reduces the chances of being rejected. So all of that openness led to a slew of different kind of genres being accepted. It wasn't just literary fiction, it wasn't just out and out commercial fiction. So all the subgenres started coming in: speculative fantasy, normal fantasy fiction, crime and thrillers of a different kind, true crime started coming in, white collar crime, like courtroom drama, all of that. I'm talking about the commercial side. Obviously, romance was always there. Now suddenly there is even more romance. But the kind of books that started getting published, the kind of acceptance was a way more. And it also led to a burgeoning of, I would say, okay, burgeoning is the wrong word, an incline in the level of translations that were being experimented with. So it was a slow growth, but a sure-footed growth. And now you're suddenly seeing all of us are working, all publishers are working with all sorts of translations, with a lot of prizes and awards that gave equal footing to translations. We worked tirelessly on that. So that also brought the change in publishing. Apart from languages coming to the forefront, there's the whole rise of the audiobook, there's the whole rise of screen adaptation. We are also working with merchandising rights. If some authors and their books are illustrated, we tend to, so all of this experimentation has happened even with the advent of superior technology. So but publishing relies heavily on technology.
What's gotten worse?
Hey, I could write a book on that.
Time to take pot shots at us.
I don't need an invitation, boss. Mediocrity is rampant. Anybody who has a certain amount of following or claim to fame for whatever reason and can pull in resources to help market said book is getting taken up for publishing. Is there merit in writing? Zero or maybe negative. Is there something that the book is doing to change our world? Nope. There's an utter amount of rubbish that's being taken up for publishing and being published, whereas I'm all for it. You want to get published? Get published. You want to pay for publishing? Do so if you have the resources. At least get the damn book edited. At least make it readable. Okay? At least make it worth the price that I'm paying to buy your book. Just don't get published for vanity's sake where your name is out and oh, you've pulled in some PR agency to do your PR. That's a load of bullshit.
I completely agree.
Yeah, and a lot of that is happening. And so, okay, let it happen.
Huh.
But why are we leaving out good voices? There are absolutely beautifully written books, but the salespeople of the said publishing house in the said commissioning meeting say, oh, but this book is not going to sell more than 2,000 copies, whereas this trash will sell 10,000 copies. Let's laugh our way to the fucking bank and let's publish that book. That's what's wrong with publishing these days.
Okay, lovely. Powerful words. Anita, you've been publishing since the 90s, if I'm correct? Or you've been publishing since the 90s, late 90s? So you've seen publishing for a while now. But in the last 10 odd years, what have you rapidly seen change? What's gotten better? What's gotten worse?
I'm not so sure about what's gotten better.
Okay.
Because I really don't think anything has.
Okay, a round of lament of what's gotten worse.
But what's got worse is pretty much what Kanishka and Mita were saying, which is that mediocrity. It's like we just worship mediocrity now, and as long as mediocrity is packaged very well and has X million followers and on social media and so on. So anybody who has, X million followers or 100,000 followers, thinks that they're worthy of writing a book. And what are they writing about? It's nothing that's going to make an iota of difference in the way a reader is going to look at life. It's just trash packaged again. And it breaks my heart because as an author, we all know, we probably think if you look at international prices, book prices are much cheaper in India, right? But if you were to say that a paperback is like 400 rupees, right? And for a family of, let's say, two, that could be like a meal out. So at what cost are we kind of publishing bad books? And then there are marketing agencies who would prop it up, reviews are paid for, newspaper articles are paid for, everything is paid for, and the poor reader is subject to a barrage of hype where they think that this is the best book on earth, and they end up buying it and are disappointed. So
Nothing's gotten better.
Sorry?
Nothing's gotten better.
Nothing.
Okay.
Because when I started off my literary career, there was none of this. There was no social media. There was no paid for reviews. There was no paid for marketing hype. A book did well because a book was good. That's it. Nothing else. A reader kind of determined if a book was great or a book was mediocre, and word of mouth made the difference. But now word of mouth is so driven by social media.
So for the sake of devil's advocacy, and just to sort of unpack this, what's gotten worse a little bit more before we move on to other segments of this conversation, are we perhaps holding on to an archaic idea of what is good literature? When we say what's become trash, are we perhaps holding on to, I will sort of give you a chance to respond, also a time when the writer could be the solitary figure sitting in the hills, in her, there, his study, writing this manuscript with no connection to the world, not being visible, not being available to the reader in the age we live in where you're supposed to be that much accessible, that much approachable, that much DMable, meaning you have to reply to their DMs and all of that, right? In the age of celebrity, where everybody, when the idea of celebrity is that much more democratized, does the writer not need to keep up and make reels and go viral? This is just in the spirit of devil's advocacy, and whether our idea of what is good literature is something that belongs to another time. Any of you?
I don't think the idea of literature is ever going to change, good literature. Because if we are still reading certain books after, 100 years after it was first published, okay, that means it's something is outstanding about it that's made it withstand time. So because of that, it means that there is something about it that is very specific and something that's very universal about it. So which kind of lingers in your mind and stays on. But I remember reading somewhere about someone like a Jane Austen. When she wrote her books out, there were these little newspaper advertisements that she had to put out. So even she had to do that. Okay, we are talking about that period of time. So, I don't think that writers ought to be turning cartwheels to lure readers. But you can put, I'm somebody who uses social media. I use social media to kind of share my thoughts. Okay, who am I as a writer? What am I as a writer and what makes me tick, right? So I use social media for that, and I don't think this whole idea of this thorough like writer sitting, in the woods and writing your own kind of spiel, and it's meant to kind of strike a chord with the reader is going to happen, because unless you're out there with the people, how do you know what people want? Or, what people are going through. The universality of experience is something that has to be kind of experienced before you can actually kind of put it down on paper. So, but at the same time, I don't really like the idea where writers have to become these performers, right? So.
Mita, same question. I saw you had a
Yeah,
visceral
no, I do,
reaction.
I do. No, because I am completely with you. I didn't, there's no doubt in my mind that with time, the kind of books that are being read and the kind of books that are being written and created obviously will change. So now, when we are carping about things having gotten worse in the industry, it's not a rant against the change. We live with our times. We know that our authors have to put themselves out there. We know they have to perform to a certain extent without being crass about it. So let's be a little more sophisticated in how you plug yourself. Use social media by all means. But what she's saying about the universality of experience is something that is a common denominator. It's not going to change. And this whole romantic notion, which has become so stereotypical about a writer sitting in a solitary cave or whatever and renouncing the world, that's a load of crap. Who wants to do that? How do you not be part of everyday life? How will you create? It's what you experience that triggers your imagination, right? So to be real in the real world, whether you're writing fiction or you're writing non-fiction or poetry, you need to be around. And you need, yes, the times demand that you kind of, for the use of a better word, plug yourself. But how shamelessly are you going to do it, is my question. Let your book speak for yourself. Let the character's voice in your book become alive. Don't overtake your own characters. Sell your story, don't sell yourself. Let the book remain alive for the good reasons, right? And for that, use technology, make yourself reels, just whatever, hire your social media agencies, hire your publicists. Anyway, there are no good publicists in India today. They don't know how to do it. But yeah, for God's sake, go ahead and do that, because we need you to have a good writing career. I say this all the time as an agent, I sell my soul. Yes, sometimes I do, to take on a particular book to remain alive and sustain the agency. But to what percentage are you going to sell your soul is something that you need to decide.
Something only you can answer.
And only you can answer. So be that writer, but let your art speak. Get that to remain alive. That's all I'm saying.
Powerful words. Kanishka, same questions.
So my issue with this whole thing, or this insistence from, sales and marketing teams at publishing houses to get authors to promote their books, is that nobody really knows what makes a book work. And I have seen this with my authors who have like massive Instagram followings, you know, like 100,000, or they may be having like 500,000 followers on Twitter or Facebook, and then the book ends up selling 3,000 or 4,000 copies. So one has to distinguish between qualitative followers and followers who are just following you because of. Oh, exactly, exactly. I'll give you an example, and this author is not represented by me. He's a very well-known journalist, Aviruk Sen. He did a book on the Arushi murder case. That Aviruk had a social media following of like 1,500 or 2,000 on Twitter, and that book has sold 60,000 copies, or maybe more, because that's a sensational book. So how does his social media following have had any impact on the sales of the book, because he doesn't have any social media following? And so to put pressure on authors, and authors will then pass on that pressure to agents, which is again a grouse that I have with publishers, that we are not here to do your job. We've worked very closely with the authors on editing the book, preparing a pitch, identifying the right editor for the book, because some of the MNCs have 4 or 5 editors who are working, commissioning in the same space, so you have to know who is looking for something particular, whether or not they have space for a book on that list. So, authors, and there are some good publicists in publishing houses. 2 or 3 of them are like really good, but they are also overworked because they have to do many other things outside of promoting. They get involved with digital media. One aspect of their job is just to make sure that the author gets invited to JLF, and that's like a full-time job. Jaipur Lit Fest. So they are also, and I also know that there are some marketing people who are also commissioning, because they read a lot and they are allowed to commission. There's a marketing person who just commissioned a very interesting book. Yeah. So I'm just saying that one of the reasons why authors have been asked to promote their books is because it's getting more and more difficult for publicists at publishing houses to do promotions. Also look at the avenues for promotion. Hindustan Times does not even have a books page in print. It's just digital. Yeah, it's just digital. Indian Express used to carry reviews every week. Now it's fortnightly, like twice a month. And like Scroll is very regular. They put out extracts every week, and then there are 5 or 6 pieces over the weekend. Hindu Literary Magazine, Sunday Magazine, that makes a difference. So like so many books and authors are vying for attention, And then if someone ends up winning a very major prize, then like there'll be like back-to-back articles on that one book, that one author. And so many debut books that are published around the festival time, if these authors are not invited to the big festivals, they die, because the books editors, they go to different festivals and they end up interviewing all the stars who come to these festivals, and most of them come for all the festivals, And then for the next 2 or 3 months, they are just writing those articles. So I think the media landscape, the review landscape, the awards landscape, it's very worrying. And it all boils down to who actually makes a difference, what kind of an influencer can actually, get someone to pick up a copy of a work of fiction.
Do you want to add to that? No, I'm sorry. Mita did? Yeah.
Well, what we really need to learn as the publishing industry, I'm not talking about you and me being on different sides of the fence. What we really need to learn from the West is how they market their books. That is something, we ape them constantly for all the nonsensical stuff. We should stop doing that. We need to learn how to market. And I've seen the difference when my author's books get published in the US versus the same book coming out in India. And one of them has just happened recently. That author lives in India, but she's been made to come to the US. She's doing her book tours there. There are various specific, content-specific, not jargon-filled marketing strategies in place, with the book in mind, with her personality in mind, what she is doing. The book came out 4 months back in the US. We are already in the 3rd reprint there. So, and this is a very, very Indian environmental concerns-based nonfiction. But if we can just put a little bit more marketing budget and a little larger marketing teams giving more focus to each of the books, maybe publishers will also finally gain as far as their coffers are concerned. But there's a long way to go. You have to start with a less myopic vision and a larger dreaming picture in mind. For the first 4 years, maybe publishers lose money in marketing, but eventually you will laugh your way to the bank. I just wish this myopia went away somewhere. And also a strong distribution system in a country like ours, which is geographically so challenging. We have readership in the Northeast, but we don't have enough bookstores.
Yeah, we've definitely failed that.
The distribution system is what we need to knock into shape in our country. We have the numbers here, our population is there, we have it on our side, we have the number of readers here. It's not that we don't. We do. Where the hell is our distribution system?
I also feel that publishers should not apply the same marketing plan strategies or even some policies. Like there are publishers who have this no book launch policy because it doesn't make a difference, you know. But without naming names, the said, I'm not going to name names, because the said publisher adopted the same policy for a very big book, award-winning book, and then the book suffered, the author suffered, you know, because no, we cannot have launches. But if a book has got global fame, why can't you invest some money in launching that book in 2 or 3 venues? So, you know, I mean, you have to have separate different budgets for different books, and you also need to, you know, be adaptable, you know, like, I mean, if a book has sold a lot of copies, the same book, the next book by the author and the translator, I mean, it should get some love in, you know, marketing spend, you know, so I mean, that's important.
Yeah, because every author doesn't have the money to plug in.
Yeah, fair ask.
Has to put it back.
A fair ask, both of these things. For a lot of the people who are aspiring to write, you know, I know there's lots of aspiring writers who are here today. What does it really take to get published in India? Things that they don't know about, the tricks of the trade, that who to approach, when to approach, what do agents do, for instance, and what's been your experience, for instance, being agented over the years?
Excuse me. So when I was first published in India, I didn't have an agent, okay, because agents didn't exist at that point of time. And then I started working with one of the, you know, first few agencies that came in. And so in India, it was very different for me, okay? But because also after the first book, my first novel, you kind of form a relationship with a publishing house. And, you know, you don't need an agent to do your talking for you. But internationally, I needed an agent. And I needed an agent who believed in my work and who also understood that I was not going to give them the India with the elephant that, you know, they were looking
Snake
for.
charmers.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that. Yeah.
So I needed an agent who was kind of like cued in, who'd been, and I was like very certain that I wanted the agent to be someone who's come to India and who's seen India the way it should be, and not just the, you know, the...
Not on a camel in Rajasthan
Yeah,
somewhere.
all of that. You know, no, I just wanted the person to have seen also like the gritty side of it and all of it, you know. And so then the agent that I started working with at that point of time was somebody who was pretty much handling all the international sales, because I didn't know who my publishers were apart from, you know, names. I didn't know their faces until I started doing book events. I hadn't met anybody. But in India, it was very different. I knew the publishing houses. I mean, after the first book came out, and because it did very well, I started getting interest from various publishing houses. At which point of time, these became people to me and not just names anymore. So I think as an author, for me, what I look for when I go to an agent, for instance, is that, you know, writing is a very, very, very lonely place to be in. So you have to have somebody you can bounce your ideas off. Not your family. I'm not talking about family and best friends and stuff like that, but somebody who is cued in into the literary way of thinking. And I also, as a writer, I wanted to have someone who could do my talking for me. Because I thought, again in my case, because I came from advertising, this world of advertising, I was very, very certain that I was not ever going to pitch my work to anybody. Because I'd done enough of that in my day job, you know. So it was like, you like my book, you want to publish it, please go ahead. Otherwise, fine, no
So
problem.
when the agent came in, that part was taken care of because
So
the agent has to
it became more
pitch.
like someone who was like a negotiation, doing the negotiations for me, and someone who was handling all what the Spanish call the kitchen work, was doing all the kitchen work really, you know. So, and at the same time, this person also was somebody whom I could bounce my thoughts off, you know. Yeah.
What does an agent really do, Mita? Is it
There
some
are
sort of
lots
sorcery?
There are lots of multiple identities of an agent. To make it as simplistic for our audiences, we read, we assess, we give you feedback, we help you hone the book, whatever genre it is, to make it acceptable enough for pitching it out to publishers. We work on publishing contracts. If the book is a big idea book, whether fiction or non-fiction, we also auction it out. We get the bids in, and we put everything on the table in front of the author, and we discuss everything, work on the contracts, handhold through the editing, handhold through the book jacket designing, handhold through the marketing, handhold even after that poor little book that you've left behind and moved on to the next baby. We monitor visibility, sales statements year after year. So basically, it is strategizing writing careers more than just getting one book published. In addition, I'm a family counselor, marriage counselor, shrink, therapist.
Midwife.
I also cook. So all of that comes rolled into one. Basically, if you are with us, you become a part of our family. I'm constantly available. I have read chapters at 1 in the night, at 11 in the morning on a Sunday morning saying, will this work? What do you think? And I don't have the heart to say it's a bloody Sunday. But no, I can't. I mean, I may sound ferocious, but I can be human.
I'll say for all the
So-
unagented books, we do the same as publishers. We're often therapists, shrinks, midwives, kindergarten teachers. People come and confide into us, hand-holding our authors like little babies. And when there's an agent, often when there's an agent, they have to do a lot of that, and we get to focus entirely on the writing. So thank you
We
for the
focus
part you
on the
played.
editing also.
Also,
So we make sure that at least a clean manuscript lands up
delivered.
on your
yeah.
on your this thing with all if there are permissions required or there's some legal paperwork required, I look into all of that also so that we give you a clean
Oh, yeah, yeah.
base to work on. But yeah, the fun part is that you form the best relationships, you make friends, you just have a growing community of people, and you learn a lot every day. My life is very rich.
Kanishka, to you. You've had a winning streak for quite some time. Kanishka has been on a roll. The last two Booker Prizes, the international Booker Prizes that we've won, that India has won, has been to some degree thanks to Kanishka, including Banu Mushtaq and Deepa Basti, who were here earlier this
Thank you.
morning, and of course Gitanjali Shri and Daisy Rockwell earlier for Tomb of Sand. So there must be some secret sauce you are sitting on.
Not really. So Daisy used to be represented by an American agent, and in 2018, or maybe it was 2019, a Goa-based writer and journalist, Vivek Menezes, introduced us. And then we hit it off. And at that time, I did not have a translation-heavy list. And now, like 7 years later, I represent 110 translators. Yeah. So, and then, she was working on a Krishna Sopti novel, and she said that my only request to you as my new agent is that I want this to be published under the Hamish Hamilton imprint, and I want my name to be on the cover as the translator, and somehow I got that done. And ever since then, I've been, so Daisy is very independent that way, so I play no role in the kind of books she wants to translate. I get involved when, permissions are required, when all the dirty work. So now we worked on 7 or 8 translations, and that access to her, and then the subsequent international Booker win for Tomb of Sand, that gave me a lot of opportunities and access to a lot of translators. In Deepa's case, I got to know about Heart Lamp. It was called Hasina and Other Stories. When she was when she won the Pen Presents grant. Yeah. And then I reached out to her, and she was already in touch with the publisher. But then we decided to work together. Now, the big issue with that book was that Banu had already given permission to another translator to translate most of those stories in a book that was going to be published by Sahitya Academy. So I had to play a big role in convincing Banu that let's just give it to Deepa. But then, so I've also been going to Frankfurt Book Fair, and I've been trying to sell rights overseas. Now I've started making independent trips to London. And what I've learned from this experience is that publishers in the West are only going to sign up an author or a book, whether it's in English or translation, if it speaks to them. Because I made my first trip to Frankfurt a few months after Tomb of Sand won the Booker, and believe you me, I had zero success, you know. I just felt that they were open to reading more material, more translations, but I got so many rejections for some of Daisy's translations. Though a few months later, some of them were picked up. So they do their curation based on their requirement, their readership, their list. Nothing miraculous has happened after Heartland. I mean, I've got, it's going to be easier for me to get, meetings at Frankfurt, but that has been happening for a long time. But they are going to take on stuff which works for them, which sits well for their list and readership. And that's what I admire a lot in editors there. They don't give a damn. And they are not going to say, we have to do this because, this author is known to us, or this author is famous, or they won the Booker. And even in the case of Tomb of Sand, I'm being brutally honest. Tomb of Sand has only benefited Tomb of Sand. Gitanjali, I mean, it's not as if her backlist or her subsequent works have started selling a lot. That's a Booker-winning book. That's going to sell, but the next book is only going to sell if people. The next book is only going to sell if it speaks to the readership. And see, I mean, I have to say, Booker makes a lot of difference. I mean, I've seen it twice. Heartlamp has already sold 85,000 copies in India. Penguin is publishing a special hardback edition. They'll be printing 10,000 copies, and it's being translated into 34 languages and counting. But that's also worrying that, why is only Booker making an impact, Mita and Anita? I mean, why is only Booker making a difference? I mean, it's only Booker. I don't know why. I mean, some of the other major awards.
For years, we've heard the translation list being treated as the stepchild in the publishing world of things. It's all the Ankur Varikus, the self-help books, right, that India really reads, because those are the kind of books that do the numbers. And at places I've worked at, very glamorous publishing houses, there are actually marketing and publicity teams that don't even want to market translations. Oftentimes they outsource it to an external agency or a vendor, because what difference will it make really if you spend money on it? And they'd rather put all those resources in your fast moving consumer goods like books that they have now started to think about when it comes to books. So I think with Bookers, etc., it's brought the kind of dignity that publishing houses need to give to the sort of business of languages, to making sure a lot of these books are made available in English, and an edge to it too.
Thanks to JCB, which Mita was the director for 5 years. And also, before Tomb of Sand, I mean, there were these translated works that became massive by word of mouth, like Kachar Ghochar, for instance. It got translated into many languages, and it was a big seller in India. It was also a big seller abroad. Then Jayant Kakini's No Presence Please, translated by Tejaswini Naranjana, it won 2 major prizes, the DSC prize, and there was a prize in the US. So I would say that translations have an edge over English fiction now.
But should the measure of success be awards? Should the measure of success be awards?
No, I think also some editors are not very happy with the quality of fiction in English coming out of India. I mean, that's what I hear from editors. And if an editor had a choice between taking on a collection of short stories or a novel by a debut writer writing in English and one writing in Malayalam translated into English, they will go for the latter. So there has been a attitudinal shift, yeah. And this is going to continue. It's not just the Booker has not played a role.
Mita, talk to us about the JCB years and what it did really and gave the languages a push and translations a push.
We had, because the JCB, the charter for the prize demanded that no matter what the book is, whether it's been translated or originally written in English, it will stand on its own merit. And each year, at least the 5 juries that I handled, read copiously and discussed each book to the last word of every book, not paying attention to the fact that whether it has been a translation from which language or it was in English. Yes, while translated books were being discussed, the art of translation was always obviously at the forefront, and there were times when some of the translated books did not make the mark. But yes, that's what the prize did, was that we put them on even keel completely. And every year I would do an impact analysis report where I could see an incline in the sales more of translated books, those that had been shortlisted or had won, or even longlisted, vis-a-vis fiction written originally in English. So those 5 years gave me a lot of learnings. And it's unfortunate that the prize had to fold up for whatever reasons, but that was the largest prize, and it brought a lot of status and prestige and changed the lives of the authors, because we worked tirelessly to even promote our long-listed authors. We opened, it became a slightly genre bending, because since I took over, I said, open it up. It doesn't have to be only dense, esoteric, litfic that half the people don't want to read. Let's kind of broaden the spectrum. And as a result, the juries used to really curse me because I made them read a lot of everything that was coming. It was very amusing.
But I'm glad you did. Yeah.
But yes, no, at least because that was my way of democratizing and making it a level playing field. Every year I would sit and call publishers in remote towns of Assam or Meghalaya or Arunachal or even, smaller towns in Bengal and say, listen, this prize exists. Think of the books you're picking up and think of reaching out to people in mainstream publishing so that it comes to the forefront in English and a lot more readers are found. So it wasn't just like getting a jury and arranging for the long list or short list or whatever. We were working behind the scenes tirelessly to reach out and increase the scope and also create new readerships. Because till you don't have new readers, till you don't, what I call them, converts, you need that market for your authors, right? You need to drive sales. That is what a prize intends to achieve. Unfortunately, again, there are challenges in India. Again, I'll go back to distribution. I'll again go back to publishers being gung-ho about marketing. So even if a winner's there and the prize-winning book has won 25 lakhs and the translator, if he or she's won 10 lakhs as a winning book, what happens after that? What is the publisher's role? Zero.
So I think the closure of JCB is a huge loss, because for many years, the JCB prize was shaping and influencing the publishing decisions and programs also. So even while negotiating with publishers, if I was pitching a novel to them by an Indian writer, like an Indian citizen, because that was the criteria, I used to ask the publisher, like point blank, are you going to be entering it for the JCB prize? And if so, will you be able to publish it before May or April? I think April was the cutoff. So this was happening across publishing houses. Authors were involved, agents were involved. So it's a huge loss, because especially for the literary divisions in publishing houses, because the whole program was being shaped. So
Yeah.
even when you were looking at translations, because the prize was not open to like authors who are not alive, no? So if I were pitching books to publishers by translations by authors who are deceased, they used to say that like we also want to look at contemporary writing because it will be eligible for prizes like JCB, so it was that big.
Yeah, but hopefully it sets the precedent. I don't think JCB needs to keep shouldering this for, time immemorial. Hopefully it encourages other philanthropy and other sort of organizations to come up with prizes like these, and it encourages more translations to come. Now I want to open this up quickly to audiences that may have questions. If you can try and keep them brief and to questions, we'll circulate a mic. Person in the front row here. Oh, here you come. Okay. There's a mic there. Thank you. Yeah, right after. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, this is Chitra Subramaniam. I am a journalist and I have just written a book on Bofors and it's doing well. The issue is that...
Congratulations.
Yeah, sorry?
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. The question is that I feel bullied. And I'm not somebody who gets bullied easily, having brought down the government in India. But there is this, no, seriously, I feel that this world, and don't take me wrong, there's a lot of bullying that goes on. You have to go here, you have to go there, you have to go to this festival. Exactly this, and I feel this influencer has to get your book, that influencer has to, and how does one stay away from this? And this is a genuine question to maintain my sanity. Because I get this on mail or Twitter, I've come here because this is my speed. I'm very happy here. I'm very happy meeting people, getting to know the real conversation. So help me. Not help me, but open this up, please. Because there's bullying in the publishing industry.
What sort of bullying? I think I should recuse myself from answering because I'm Chitra's agent for this book.
Likewise, I'm not your publisher. Jagannath published the book, right? But I guess I'll just say that you have the power to say no. You always have the power to say no. You have to look at yourself as a finite being with finite time, finite resources. So if there are requests from multiple journalists and multiple influencers and multiple literature festivals, you make a selection about where you feel comfortable going and push back as much as you can. Because I understand that there is a kind of demand made of authors where they are made to sort of the bullying pertains to...
what I should write next.
The bullying pertains to what she should write next. That, once you've delivered this book...
Again, boils down to market considerations,
Exactly.
what publishers are looking for.
What I'm planning to... So I don't want to take up too much time. The question is, I'm working on a book of short stories. It has nothing to do with Bofors. So then the thing is, no one's going to buy it. That kind of bullying.
No, but Chitra, your short stories are not fictional, no? They are non-fiction.
They're real stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so that will have a market. I told you that. Yeah, if it's non-fiction...
And I'll be happy to publish
I'm sorry,
it.
I'm speaking, publishing speak. That will have a market.
There'll be no bullying involved. You had a question you wanted to ask.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, I'm Radhika. I'm writing my first ever novel. I hope to finish my first draft by end of September or somewhere around. So my question is, see, there's a lot of things which I've read about publishers that we lose our creative freedom or something like with the book or creative rights of the book. If I go with Penguin or something, I will lose my creative rights is what I've heard by a lot of people. And if I want to convert my book into a visual experience or anything like that, how difficult is it and how is it to know that who's the right publisher I have to pick? And
How to choose a publisher?
You should answer that.
I cannot speak for all publishers in India, of course, but it would help to sort of rely on this incredible ecosystem of agenting that's been so active and thriving in India, and also set up time and conversations with various publishers and various editors at these publishing houses. And after having had a round of conversations, once you hear your yeses and your nos and the feedback, you will instinctively know who really gets your book, who's not out there to butcher it, who's not out there to sort of make it into something it is not, and who gets the spirit of what you're really trying to say. The editor who gets the spirit of what your work really represents is the editor and the publishing house to go with.
Go step by step, whether you're going directly to a publisher or whether you're going via an agent. So, I mean, if you get interest from multiple publishers, and if you're unagented, then even then I would request you to like have calls with the editors, get a sense of the editorial vision, packaging. How do they want to position the book? What imprint are they looking for? Because some publishing houses have these premier literary imprints, and some of them have imprints which are more mass than literary. And then take a call on the basis of that. And even if you, even if you've got a lower offer, lower financial terms, lesser financial terms from an editor who has a better vision for your book, a legit editor though, I would urge you to go with that editor then over someone who's paying you a lot of money but doesn't know what to do with the book.
Any more questions? Okay, there's a question here and here. We have only about 5 minutes, so I can take a question or two at best. And then we can continue this with signing, that Anita is happy to sign copies. Okay.
This is
Yes, ma'am.
in response to something that you said, Chirag.
Yeah.
You said that shouldn't authors, remain relevant. That was not your phrase, but I'm rephrasing it, compared to the writers of your, But aren't we somewhere forgetting, are we somewhere forgetting that the story is the hero? Whether you're writing about a person who's dying of TB and the lover's looking after her forever, or you're peppering your book with the F word, but the story is very powerful.
Yeah.
So somewhere, it's not about whether the author is relevant, his or her language is relevant, or the style. It's just the story. And because I'm an aspiring writer who's been trying to get published forever, and sometimes I'm told my story is very old-fashioned, my language is old-fashioned, and there isn't enough sex in it. So these are the kind of remarks that I get.
Yeah. You're meeting the wrong people, is
sure
what you're saying.
I'm sure I am. So when I heard about the counseling and the marriage counselor and all, I said, where do you meet such people?
No, but the story is the supreme hero, always.
Yes. So I think somewhere I feel
I'll tell you where this demand to be more visible, to make reels, to market more, to be on social media, why publishers keep insisting on it. That largely comes from the assault on our attention economies. There is something that has happened to how much we read once upon a time and how much time we can make to read now, living one notification to another notification, doom scrolling constantly on our smartphones. I'm even asking them questions that I made note of in my notes app on my phone, where I'm doing my banking, where people are on the dating apps, their fitness apps, social media apps, everything is on the phone. So we've seen attention spans reduce, and discoverability of a good story versus a bad story versus trash that is now getting published. We are also in the age of the algorithm. So some of that push is coming from the point of view of even the good story having to fight for attention, when attention has become so scarce and almost become a monetizable commodity. One last question and then we'll wrap. Okay, here.
Wow. Me.
We can. Okay.
Thank you.
Brief question and a brief response, and we'll
Can
wrap
I?
it up.
Okay, the brief question is,
You're biased for people at the back.
can everyone hear me?
It's the lighting, sir. I can
Okay.
barely see beyond the
Okay.
third row.
So now
My question is,
now that I've intruded, can I ask the
find
question?
publishers and literary agents more interested in non-fiction today than fiction. while all the major awards seem to be going to fiction?
That is a data-driven response, very easy response. India reads nonfiction. India has this obsession with utility. They want to become better versions of themselves 20 pages into the book. They want to take a habit home. They want to do epic things, get epic things done too. So there's something about us as readers, which is that we are people obsessed with wanting to learn and take nonfiction home. But of course, please read more fiction, because fiction has the power to take you into life
Yes.
worlds you've not lived through, realities that are not yours, that are someone else's.
Thank you.
So more power to fiction and to, of course, books. We can keep this going. Thank you. All right. Thanks everyone for being here.
Thanks. Thank you.